If you've ever tried to watch the show Dark, you know you basically need a PhD, a giant corkboard, and a whole lot of red string. Well, today we're going to untangle that massive knot. We are going to break down the one thing you have to understand to get the show, Winden's ridiculously complicated families. So here's our game plan. First, we'll meet the four main families. Then, we're diving straight into the three biggest twists that connect them all. And finally, we'll talk about the one single character who sits at the very center of this whole crazy labyrinth. All right, first things first, let's meet the main players. See, on the surface, Winden just seems like any other sleepy little town, built around a few important families. But, as we are about to find out, absolutely nothing is what it seems. These are the four names you've got to burn into your brain: Nielsen, Kahnwald, Doppler, and Tiedemann. I'm telling you, pretty much every single character, every confusing plot twist, it all comes from the relationships between these four groups. They're the foundation for everything. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get right into the good stuff. The first, and honestly the most fundamental paradox of the whole show, connects the Nielsens and the Kahnwalds in a way that just completely flips the entire story on its head. So here are the Nielsens just as we meet them in the beginning. You've got Ulrich, he's a local cop, his wife, Katharina, and their three kids. Now pay close attention to that little exclamation point next to the youngest son, Mikkel, because his disappearance is what kicks this whole insane story off. And that's the central mystery, right? A little boy vanishes from a small town, no clues, no trace. Where did he go? Or maybe the better question for a show like Dark is, when did he go? And boom, there it is, the first absolutely mind-blowing reveal of the series. Michael Kahnwald, who is the father of our main hero Jonas, is actually the missing boy Mikkel Nielsen, just all grown up. This is the exact moment you realize, oh, this is not just a missing person story. This is something else entirely. So how in the world does that even work? Well, it's basically a three-step process, all thanks to time travel. First, little Mikkel wanders into the Winden Caves and accidentally travels from 2019 all the way back to 1986. Second, he's stuck there. He can't get back, so he has no choice but to just grow up in the past. And third, to blend in, he takes on a new name, Michael Kahnwald. And the fallout from this one event is just massive. It means our hero, Jonas, isn't just some random kid. His father is Mikkel, which means Jonas is Ulrich Nielsen's grandson. The two most important families in the show are no longer separate. They are one and the same, tangled together by this impossible paradox. Now, if you thought that was a headache, you might want to sit down for the Dopplers, because their story introduces something even crazier. It's called a bootstrap paradox. It's a loop that literally has no beginning and no end. So this is the Doppler family. We've got Charlotte, the chief of police. She's married to Peter. They have two daughters, Franziska and Elizabeth. And just like with Mikkel before, you're going to want to pay very, very close attention to Elizabeth. And this right here is probably the most brain-melting family tree in the history of television. Just let it sink in. Charlotte is Elizabeth's daughter. At the same time, Elizabeth is Charlotte's daughter. Yes, you heard that right. They are both mother and daughter to each other. How do you even begin to process that? Well, our source material sums it up perfectly. Yes, it's a loop. That's all you can say. It's this perfect, unbreakable circle where a person gives birth to their own mother. There's no start, there's no finish. It just is. Whew, okay, let's shift gears from the pure, brain-breaking physics of it all to the emotional heart of the show. Because all of this time travel doesn't just mess with family trees, it leads to a really tragic and, well, a very twisted romance. So to really get this romance, we have to quickly introduce our fourth and final key family, the Tiedemans. Now, the most important person to know here is Claudia. Just trust me, she becomes a huge player in the whole time travel game that swallows this town. Okay, back to the romance. You see, underneath all the chaos and the paradoxes, there's a really simple, relatable story. Jonas Kahnwald is in love with Martha Nielsen. It's kind of the emotional anchor for the entire show. But let's start connecting some dots here. Remember that very first twist we talked about? The huge one about who Jonas's father really is? Right, and we also know who Mikkel was before he time traveled. He was Martha Nielsen's little brother. I think you can see where this is going, can't you? And there's the gut punch. Because Jonas's dad is Martha's brother, the love of his life is actually his aunt. It's just devastating. It's a romance that was doomed by a timeline they didn't even know they were trapped in. This is the real human cost of all these paradoxes in Winden. Okay, so we've got a man who's the father of the main character, a woman who is her own mother, and a boy in love with his own aunt. What in the world could possibly connect all of these impossible threads? Well, the answer is a single person. This right here is the final key to the entire puzzle, the origin. This is the child born from that impossible relationship between Jonas and Martha, nephew and aunt. This child's very existence is the keystone that holds the entire looping structure together. They are the reason the knot that binds these four families can never, ever be undone. And that really brings us to the perfect summary for this whole thing. This is the core logic of Winden. It's a town where the past creates the future, and the future creates the past, trapping everyone in this insane cycle where they end up becoming their own ancestors. Which leaves us all with the one huge question that the characters themselves are fighting to answer. If every choice you think you're making has already been made, if every single event is just doomed to repeat forever, is there any way out? Is there any hope of ever breaking the cycle? And you know what? That struggle against fate is what makes Stark one of the greatest stories ever told.